Joining us now is Avi Lewis, Associate Professor of Geography at UBC and a member of the Jewish Faculty Network and Independent Jewish Voices. Avi, thanks for being here. You wrote an op-ed in the Globe and Mail recently saying Canada has a moral obligation to support South Africa's case. And since that was published, Israel had its day in court. It rejected South Africa's accusations of state-led genocide against the Palestinian population. What do you make of the case as a whole so far?
Maybe I'll just unmute. How about that?
Thanks
for having me, Dan.
You bet.
If you read South Africa's case, it's utterly devastating. I mean, it's 84 pages long. There's 574 footnotes, and they meticulously document the incitement statements from cabinet ministers and senior members of the Israeli government talking about flattening Gaza, talking about there are no innocents in Gaza. We're dealing with non-human animals. Every civilian attacked, the hospitals, the journalists killed, the civilians. And you look at Israel's case, and it's basically they just said, well, Hamas wants to commit genocide against us, so how could we be committing genocide against Hamas? Here's the problem, Dan. Hamas has not killed more than 100 Israeli children every day for more than 100 days. Hamas has not flattened entire neighborhoods, reducing them to dust. Hamas has not cut off food to Israel, using starvation as a weapon of war, according to Human Rights Watch in B'Tselem, Israel's most storied human rights organization. Hamas has not destroyed a third of the buildings in Israel. Those are all things that Israel has done to the Palestinian people in Gaza. So I think the case is overwhelming. The problem is the court also has politics in it. There are 17 judges, I believe, and the United States is leaning on the process to try to exonerate Israel. So it'll be incredibly important to see, but the case is very, very strong.
Now, in your op-ed, you note Jewish people in Israel and here in Canada do not all agree. It's not a monolith. There has been widespread, or perhaps we could say very vocal support for Israel among a certain section of Canada's Jewish population. This is obviously such a difficult conversation. How do you find common ground with people who don't agree with you, be they fellow Jews or non-Jews?
Well, look, this is the task to live together across our differences. And, you know, in the Jewish community, there's a huge diversity of opinions. I know so many people, at least 4 close friends, who have been waiting until their parents passed on to say how they really feel about Israel's apartheid system in that land and the crimes that are now being committed in Gaza. So there's a huge diversity of opinion within the Jewish community. Groups like the Jewish Federation of Vancouver and the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs, CJA, present themselves as the spokespeople of the entire community. They are Zionist groups who are pro-Israel, come what may, and they do not represent what I believe is a less and less silent majority of Jewish people who are standing up and saying, not in our name. You are killing children day after day after day. This is an asymmetric genocide. And we have to stand up and get on the right side of history. As Jews, we say never again about the Holocaust. We mean never again for anyone. At Passover, we say no one is free until everyone is free. And that means a free Palestine. That means a state in Palestine. And you saw that Netanyahu has never had any intention of allowing a Palestinian state in Sasha Petrosek's report. You saw that, and he even said more recently that for 30 years, he has been single-mindedly preventing the creation of a Palestinian state. This is truth time, people, and they never, ever intended to have a two-state solution.
And Avi, last question. We appreciate your time. Do you expect that more people more Jews in Canada and elsewhere will start speaking out?
Yeah, I mean, look, I regard these Zionist organizations as bullies. They accuse everyone who criticizes anything about Israel as being anti-Semitic. It's like a hammer. They're just smashing over and over again. Any criticism of Israel, anti-Semitic, anti-Semitic. They've rendered the term meaningless, and they've done a huge disservice to people fighting the real anti-Semitism, which is really out there, particularly because Israel is committing genocide and people around the world are angry about it, and that sometimes manifests itself in anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism has to be fought in a broad movement against racism. It can't be exceptionalized. It can't be only crimes against our people have to be singled out and denounced. And that's the problem. You know, that's why more and more Jews are standing up and saying, we are in solidarity with all people. We don't want an exceptional treatment here. We want a same standard of human rights and international law for everyone, and that includes Israel.
Avi Lewis, Associate Professor of Geography at UBC and member of the Jewish Faculty Network and Independent Jewish Voices. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Dan.